So here is my, what I would call my very first impressions, I'm showing you the lens there, of the Nikon D810 as a body. I've literally just got this out of the box and I've done a quick test to see the buffer rates when you're using 12-bit RAWs and uncompressed RAWs and 14-bit RAWs and 14 uncompressed RAWs and all that kind of stuff. I'm very impressed with how many photos you can actually take with this in one giant burst. I've also been checking the focus. The focus speed is looking pretty good, and the sound of the actual shutter is a lot more muted than it was on the D800. I've had the D800 and the D750 and the D600, and one of the complaints I got was when you have quiet mode on these cameras, they're not quiet. They're still making a lot of noise. This is definitely a lot quieter. The quiet modes I still don't really get. They suck really. But if you're just taking a single photo, the actual noise of a shutter, really nice and quiet. Really nice and quiet. If we go to quiet sound, listen. It just sounds like something breaking inside when you first hear it. Listen. It's focused. And then it won't bring the shutter down until I take my finger off. So, yeah, totally quiet. I would actually say it sounds horrible, but it's definitely a lot more quiet than the previous version, the D800. In terms of its body, what I'm not a big fan of already is the size of the buttons at the back. I was a big fan of the Nikon D700 and it had pretty much the same layout on the back here. However, even if it's just like a millimeter bigger, I just feel these buttons are a little bit small and they could be just a fraction bigger. And I just think, because sometimes I've got big hands, I've got big fat fingers, or if I'm wearing gloves, if it's a little bit, I'm not meaning like big ski gloves, but just like little running gloves, if they could be just a little bit bigger, that would be great. The live view if you don't read the manual, like myself, manuals are for idiots. It takes a while for you to kind of figure out, hold on, how do I get exposure preview? So I was shooting in manual, so changing the settings up here, change it to manual. I had it at like 100th of a second. It's now at auto ISO. I can just take that off. And now it's giving me exposure preview, but before it wasn't. And that's because I needed to press a button somewhere. Yeah, so if you're in photo mode and you press OK, then it will give you exposure preview. If you're in video mode, you automatically get exposure preview, and pressing OK does nothing. In other words, there's a whole pile of buttons on this camera which require you to do a serious amount of learning on this. This is not one that's just going to go, oh, it's a camera, I know how to use it. I think this is a camera which you're going to have to really go through the whole manual and learn how to use this camera like the back of your hand with all the buttons and on this. I think, again, it is definitely a camera that you can just pick up and shoot and get amazing images. I think to get the most out of it, it's one which you should be a geek with. Read the manual. Don't be the guy that after owning a camera for 6 months go, oh, I never realized I could take time-lapse photos with the interval meter in this. I didn't realize that. Oh, what setting was that on? Go through every menu setting, set up your own menu settings, and all that kind of stuff to get the most out of it. But in terms of like the eyepiece is beautiful. People talk about how it's like now it's white writing inside. Oh, you can see that, yeah. People are like, ooh, it's white writing and it's more clear. And I would say, yeah, it seems to be more clear if I had good eyesight. But it's a nice view in here. As in, this is one of, like, you always see photographers, camera up to the face, and doing this. As if they're really trying to see through the people. This one, you don't need to. It's so big and so easy to deal with that it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I stick that in my left eye. Does everyone stick on their left eye? I literally cannot. I cannot see if I put it up to my right eye. It's like my brain doesn't work. It's always random thing. In terms of size and weight, I've got it with this big fat ass lens on it, but it already feels nice, and you can finger the D800 very well. The grips are nice and good, and there's also like the bump on the back. How do I show that? There is the lighting there. There's a bump there for your thumb to sit in. That's nice and deep. Nice and deep. I'm liking that. And and the other thing is this has got the AF on button properly. It's got it there. It's got an 8,000th of a second shutter, and it's got 250th of a sync speed if you're using flash. All good things. And it's got these holy bits up here, which most photographers will go like, what is that for? I've got the thing for me to do super long exposures. I'll put the link to a very cheap little thing where you click that and it opens the shutter, and you can walk away for an hour and come back and then close the shutter, because it's got that. I don't know what it's called. It's like 12 pin hole or something like that. But that's good having that there. So yeah. So far, body-wise, loving it. Buffer rate, my test so far, amazing. 36 meg, 30, is it 36? 36.2 megapixels. Nice, huge, and the ISO going down to 64. Just doing this high contrast scene which I've got in here, it's going good. It's going very good. So, first impressions, good. That's how I'm going to leave this. Okay, see you guys. Expect lots of more mini tests and reviews on the Nikon D800 coming up very soon.